Have you ever been told you're just an overthinker? Or maybe that you're too sensitive? Well, today we're going to explore why some of us notice absolutely everything. And here's the twist. It might not be a flaw. It might actually be a superpower. We're calling it the 8K IMAX Brain. So let's just dive right in with a question that, might hit a little too close to home. Have you ever felt like you're just an overthinker? Okay, picture this with me. You walk into a room, right? Could be a party, could be a meeting at work, and before anyone even says a word, you just get it. You feel the vibe, the whole social dynamic. It's like you're picking up on all these invisible signals that everyone else just seems to be missing. So you're at that party, and while everybody else is just enjoying the music, your brain is, well, it's on a completely different level. It's taking these little mental snapshots of everything. You can't help but see that couple in the corner having a super tense, quiet argument. You spot your friend smile, but, you can tell it doesn't quite reach their eyes. That tiny, almost invisible flicker in the overhead light? Yeah, it's driving you nuts. You can literally feel the tension in the room. And honestly, it's exhausting. If any of that sounds familiar, I need you to listen really, really closely. You are not an overthinker. You're not too sensitive, and your brain is definitely not broken. In fact, it might just be a finely tuned, highly advanced masterpiece built for survival. So what is actually going on here? What's happening inside your head? This brings us to the big idea for today, the 8K IMAX brain. Science actually has a name for this. It's called sensory processing sensitivity, or SPS for short. And let's get one thing straight right now. This is not a disorder. It's not a flaw. It's a totally normal, inborn personality trait. All it means is that your brain is wired to process everything, physical things, social cues, emotions, on a much, much deeper level than most people. And hey, if you've ever felt like you're the only one in the world experiencing things this intensely, you're not. Not even close. Research shows about 20% of us are born with this trait. That's 1 in every 5 people. You're part of a club you didn't even know existed. So here's probably the best way to think about it. Imagine most people are watching the world on an old, kind of blurry 480p TV. You, on the other hand, are experiencing life in full, glorious, mind-blowing 8K IMAX. You see every detail, you hear every sound, you feel every emotion in stunning high definition. It's amazing, but yeah, it can also be a little overwhelming. So what's powering this whole high-def experience? Well, it's your prefrontal cortex. That's the part of your brain that does all the heavy lifting, the complex thinking. For you, it's like a supercomputer that's just always on, constantly analyzing every single micro-expression, every tiny change in someone's tone of voice, even the way a person shifts their weight from one foot to the other. It's an incredible piece of biological machinery for sure, but man, does it use up a lot of energy. Okay, I know what you might be thinking. This sounds awful. It sounds exhausting. And you know what? Sometimes it is. But what if I told you this wasn't some kind of burden? What if it's actually your hidden superpower? See, this trait isn't some weird glitch of modern life. It is pure evolutionary brilliance. I want you to think back, way back, thousands of years. In a tribe, who was more likely to survive? The person who was just blissfully unaware of everything? Or the one who heard the predator in the bushes before everyone else did? The one who could sense that something was off in the group before it turned into a huge fight? These people, they were the early warning systems. They kept everyone safe. And that ancient superpower, it's still incredibly useful today. In fact, some psychologists call people with high SPS human lie detectors. And why is that? Because you have this almost uncanny ability to see right through the masks people wear. You just sense those little inconsistencies between what someone is saying and what their body language is screaming. You notice the tiny tells that give away what they're really thinking. But here's the thing about any superpower. It always comes with a user manual, right? If you don't learn how to manage it, it can easily start to manage you. So let's talk about how to master that 8K brain of yours and turn it from a source of overwhelm into your absolute greatest strength. We're going to break this down into 3 simple but honestly life-changing rules, okay? You ready? Rule number 1, you have to accept your recovery time. Rule number 2, stop playing pretend. And rule number 3, you've got to control your own vibe. All right, let's get into rule number 1 because this one is a game changer. You must accept your need for recovery time. Look, because your 8K brain is processing a gigantic amount of data every single second, it's just going to run out of battery faster. Think of it like a high-performance race car. It needs more pit stops. So if you spend just 2 hours in a crowded, noisy place, you might feel like you need, I don't know, 3 full business days to feel human again. And guess what? That's not just okay. It's totally normal. It's necessary. So don't fight it. Plan for it. That downtime is when your amazing brain sorts through all that data and turns it into real wisdom.
Okay, on to rule number 2, and this could seriously revolutionize your social life. You have to stop playing pretend.
Does small talk ever feel just physically painful to you? Like you're being forced to chew on cardboard? Well, there's a really good reason for that. Your brain isn't wired for superficial stuff. It craves depth. It wants real, meaningful connection. So all that chit-chat about the weather, it's just static. I know there's so much pressure to be a social butterfly, but you have got to give yourself permission to just opt out. Focus your energy on a few deep, quality connections instead of a whole bunch of shallow ones. For you, it's all about depth over breadth. And that brings us perfectly to our last and maybe the most important rule of all. You have to learn how to control your vibe. I want you to think of yourself as an emotional Wi-Fi router. You're just constantly picking up on all the signals from the people around you. So if your best friend is stressed about their job, you start feeling that stress in your own gut. If your partner is anxious, you soak it up like a sponge. This is exactly why setting emotional boundaries isn't just a nice idea. For you, it's an absolute necessity for survival. You've got to learn to ask, is this my feeling or is it theirs? It's the only way to keep your own battery from constantly being drained to zero.
So after all this, what's the big takeaway? What does it all mean? Well, it comes down to something I like to call the quietest truths. We live in a world that is obsessed with being loud, right? It tells us to be on all the time, constantly connected. But for people like us, with our 8K brains, the real magic, the real insights, they happen in the quiet. It's in those moments when we're alone that we can finally filter out all the noise and hear the real signal. So your need to retreat isn't you being weak or antisocial, it's your superpower activating. It's you processing all that incredible data and turning it into actual wisdom.
So let's end with this. You are not boring, you are not broken, you are deep. You are experiencing life in a way most people can't even imagine. So the only real question left is, what are you going to do with that incredible, high-definition insight? What will you create with that amazing view of the world?